What if the reason most people struggle to achieve extraordinary success isn't because they lack talent, resources, or opportunities, but because they are trying to do too many things at once? Look around at the world today. Everyone is busy. Schedules are packed. Notifications never stop. To-do lists grow longer every day. People wake up with dozens of responsibilities, jump from task to task, answer emails, attend meetings, chase opportunities, and collapse at night feeling exhausted. Yet despite all that activity, many people still feel stuck. Progress feels slow. Goals remain distant. And the question quietly lingers, why do some people achieve extraordinary results while others remain trapped in constant busyness? The answer is surprisingly simple. Extraordinary success is not about doing more things, it's about doing the right thing. Throughout history, the most successful individuals have shared one powerful habit. They focus on the single action that matters most and give it their full attention. Instead of dividing their energy across dozens of priorities, they concentrate on the one task that can move everything else forward. Because when the right action happens, something powerful begins to unfold. Think of a row of dominoes standing in a long line. Each domino looks small on its own, almost insignificant. But when the first domino falls, it knocks over the next one, then the next, and the next. What begins as a tiny movement quickly becomes a chain reaction of unstoppable momentum. Success works the same way. One focused action creates progress, creates momentum. Momentum creates extraordinary results. But most people never experience this domino effect because they are trapped by a set of powerful myths about success. They believe everything is equally important. They try to multitask. They assume success requires constant discipline, endless willpower, and perfect balance in every area of life. These beliefs sound reasonable, but they quietly sabotage focus. When everything feels important, nothing truly stands out. When attention is divided across multiple tasks, performance weakens. When people try to control every aspect of their lives, exhaustion replaces progress. The truth is far simpler and far more powerful. Extraordinary results come from identifying the one thing that matters most and giving it your undivided attention. That single action becomes the first domino. From there, habits begin to form. Small improvements accumulate. Momentum grows stronger with each step. Over time, the effort that once felt difficult becomes natural, and the results that once seemed impossible begin to appear. This principle applies to every area of life. In business, focusing on one key strategy can transform an entire company. In personal growth, one powerful habit can reshape daily routines. In finances, one consistent investment strategy can lead to long-term wealth. Financial freedom, success, and fulfillment rarely appear overnight. They grow gradually through focused action repeated consistently over time. The challenge is not finding opportunities. The world is full of them. The challenge is deciding which opportunity deserves your focus right now. Because once you discover the one thing that matters most, everything begins to change. Clarity replaces confusion. Focus replaces distraction. Momentum replaces overwhelm. And what once looked like an impossible journey suddenly becomes a clear path forward. The path to extraordinary success has always been simple. Find the one thing that matters most. Focus on it and let the dominoes fall. Imagine for a moment that you wake up tomorrow morning with the same 24 hours everyone else on the planet has. The same amount of time as the most successful entrepreneurs, athletes, creators, and leaders in the world. But when that effort is concentrated on a single meaningful priority, the impact multiplies. This is why the most successful people protect their focus so fiercely. They understand that every yes they give to something unimportant steals time from what truly matters. They realize that opportunity does not come from doing everything. It comes from choosing carefully what deserves their attention. There is also another powerful principle behind extraordinary success, something that explains why one focused action can create massive results over time. Think of a long line of dominoes standing upright. When the first domino falls, it knocks over the second knocks over the third. One small movement sets off a chain reaction. At first, the movement seems small, but as the dominoes continue falling, the energy multiplies. Each piece triggers the next. Momentum builds. Before long, something that started with a tiny action creates a massive outcome. Success works in the same way. One focused action leads to another. One meaningful improvement opens the door to the next opportunity. Each step builds momentum that carries you forward. The mistake most people make is believing that extraordinary success requires massive effort from the very beginning. They think they must solve everything at once, change everything immediately, and accomplish everything simultaneously. That belief leads to overwhelm and frustration, but extraordinary results rarely appear all at once. They grow sequentially. One action leads to the next. One step leads to another. Over time, the domino effect begins to unfold and the results start growing far beyond what the original effort seemed capable of producing. Think about learning any skill. At first, the progress feels slow. Each improvement seems small, but with consistent focus, those improvements compound. Weeks turn into months, months turn into years. Eventually, the difference between the person who stayed focused and the one who constantly changed direction becomes enormous. The same principle applies to building wealth, building a business, building knowledge, and building a meaningful life. Financial freedom rarely comes from dozens of scattered attempts to make money. It usually grows from mastering one valuable skill, building one strong opportunity, and expanding from that foundation over time. The individuals who create lasting wealth understand that success compounds when energy is focused instead of divided. One clear direction creates momentum, momentum creates opportunity, opportunity creates results, and it all begins with the willingness to ask one simple question. What is the one thing that matters most right now? When you begin asking that question every day, something remarkable happens. The noise around you begins to fade. The endless list of tasks becomes less intimidating. Decisions become easier. Your time becomes more intentional. Instead of chasing everything, you begin building something. Instead of reacting to every distraction, you move steadily toward a clear goal. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by possibilities, you channel your energy into progress. The truth about extraordinary success is surprisingly simple. It does not require you to master everything. It requires you to identify what matters most and give it your full commitment. Focus on the one thing that moves everything else forward, and the rest of your life begins to align around it. Imagine a long row of dominoes standing upright on a table. Each piece looks small and insignificant by itself. If you picked one up and held it in your hand, it wouldn't feel powerful at all. But place hundreds of them in a line, one behind the other, and something fascinating happens. When the first domino falls, it knocks down the second. The second knocks down the third, and suddenly a chain reaction begins that continues until the last domino crashes to the ground. At first glance, it looks like a simple trick, but hidden inside that small demonstration is one of the most powerful principles of success. Small actions, when done in the right order, create massive results. Most people believe success happens all at once. They imagine breakthroughs as dramatic moments where everything suddenly changes overnight. But the truth is very different. Extraordinary success almost always grows from a series of small actions that build upon one another over time. Think about how knowledge grows. Nobody becomes an expert overnight. Learning begins with small pieces of information. One concept leads to another. One lesson builds upon the previous one. Over weeks, months, and years, that small collection of knowledge turns into deep understanding. The same pattern appears in every area of life. Athletes become champions through thousands of hours of practice. Entrepreneurs build successful businesses by solving one problem at a time. Investors grow wealth through consistent decisions that compound over many years. Success is sequential, not simultaneous. This idea may sound simple, but it carries a powerful implication. If success grows through a chain reaction, then the most important step is always the first domino, the one action that sets everything else in motion. Yet most people struggle because they try to push over too many dominoes at once. They create long lists of goals and attempt to attack everything simultaneously. They try to improve their career, health, finances, relationships, skills, and personal development all at the same time. Their attention becomes divided, their energy becomes scattered, and progress slows down. The real secret is understanding which domino matters most right now. When you identify the right domino and give it your full focus, it triggers a chain of progress that leads to other achievements naturally. One accomplishment opens the door to another. One improvement creates the conditions for the next. Imagine someone who decides to improve their financial future. They might begin with a simple decision, learning a high-value skill. At first, the effort seems small. Studying an hour a day, practicing consistently, improving gradually. But over time, that skill increases their value in the marketplace. Higher income becomes possible. With higher income comes better investment opportunities. Investments grow into financial security. What started as a single focused action eventually leads to financial freedom. This is the domino effect of success. The challenge, however, is that life rarely lines up the dominoes neatly in front of us. There is no clear path labeled to start here. Instead, we are surrounded by possibilities. Dozens of choices compete for our time and attention. Without clarity, it becomes easy to chase whatever feels urgent instead of what is truly important. Highly successful people approach this problem differently. Every day they pause long enough to ask themselves a powerful question. What action today will move everything else forward? They search for the lead domino. Sometimes that domino is a single phone call that opens a business opportunity. Sometimes it is 1 hour of focused learning that strengthens a valuable skill. Sometimes it is a strategic decision that shapes the direction of an entire company. The specific action may change, but the principle remains the same. Find the domino that matters most and knock it down. Once that first domino falls, the rest often follow with surprising momentum. This principle also explains why patience is such an important ingredient in success. When the domino effect begins, progress may look slow at first. The first few dominoes fall quietly. The results may seem small compared to the effort invested. But something important is happening beneath the surface. Momentum is building. Every successful action strengthens your confidence. Every improvement increases your capability. Every lesson learned sharpens your judgment. These small gains accumulate quietly until one day the results begin to accelerate. The same principle appears in nature. Plant a seed in the soil, and nothing seems to happen for a while. The ground looks unchanged, but underground roots are forming. Growth is taking place where no one can see it. Eventually, a small sprout appears, then a stem, then leaves. Given enough time and care, that tiny seed grows into a powerful tree. Success grows in exactly the same way. It begins with small actions that appear insignificant but carry enormous potential. One focused habit leads to another. One productive day leads to another. One strategic decision leads to another. Gradually, the chain reaction begins to unfold. This is why discipline matters so much. Not the kind of discipline that forces you to control every detail of your life, but the kind that helps you stay committed to the one thing that matters most. When you focus consistently on the right domino, progress becomes inevitable. There will always be distractions trying to pull your attention away, opportunities that seem exciting but do not move you closer to your real goal. Tasks that appear urgent but contribute little to meaningful progress. The ability to say no to those distractions is what protects your domino chain. Every time you choose focus over distraction, you strengthen the sequence of success. And as the dominoes continue to fall, something remarkable begins to happen. The actions that once felt difficult become easier. Skills that once required effort become natural. Results that once seemed impossible become achievable. Momentum transforms effort into progress. Financial growth follows the same pattern. Many people believe wealth requires huge opportunities or lucky breaks, but most financial success actually grows through consistent decisions over time. Saving a portion of income, investing regularly, developing valuable skills that increase earning potential. Each of these actions is a domino. Individually, they may seem small, but together they create a powerful chain reaction that leads to long-term prosperity. The key is understanding that extraordinary results are not produced by doing everything at once. They come from doing the right thing, then the next right thing, and then the next, one domino at a time. When you begin living this way, the pressure to accomplish everything disappears. Instead of trying to solve your entire future in a single moment, you focus on the step directly in front of you. You knock down the first domino, then the next, and eventually you look back and realize that the small actions you once doubted have created extraordinary results. rendere result. Up to this point, one powerful truth has begun to reveal itself. Extraordinary success is not about doing everything. It is about doing what matters most. Yet if this idea is so simple, why do so many people struggle to apply it in their lives? The answer lies in a series of beliefs that sound logical, feel reasonable, and are repeated so often that they start to feel like truth. But in reality, these beliefs quietly sabotage our productivity, our focus, and our potential. These are the lies that keep people from achieving extraordinary results. The first and perhaps most dangerous lie is the belief that everything matters equally. When people create their daily task lists, they often treat every item as if it carries the same level of importance. Emails sit beside long-term goals, minor errands sit beside major projects. Everything competes for attention. When everything appears equally important, nothing truly stands out. As a result, people become busy without becoming productive. They rush from one task to another, crossing items off their lists and feeling the temporary satisfaction of activity. But by the end of the day, the work that would have made the greatest difference often remains untouched. Activity does not equal achievement. Many people spend their days completing dozens of small tasks while the one task capable of transforming their future sits quietly ignored. It's like someone spending the entire day organizing tools instead of actually building anything. Highly successful individuals understand a different truth. Not everything matters equally. Some actions produce dramatically greater results than others. This principle appears everywhere in life. In business, a small number of customers often produce the majority of revenue. In sales, a few key relationships generate most of the income. In productivity, a small number of tasks create the majority of meaningful progress. This pattern has been observed for centuries and is often described through the principle that a minority of effort produces the majority of results. In practical terms, it means that out of everything you could do today, only a small portion truly matters. And within that small portion, one thing matters most. The challenge is that our natural instinct pulls us toward the opposite behavior. Instead of narrowing our focus, we try to handle everything simultaneously. This leads directly to the second great lie of success: multitasking. Modern culture celebrates the idea of multitasking as if it were a superpower. People proudly claim they can answer emails while attending meetings, text while listening to a conversation, or switch between multiple projects throughout the day. But the human brain does not truly multitask. What it actually does is switch rapidly between tasks. Each time attention shifts from one activity to another, the brain must pause, reorient, and refocus. These small transitions may seem insignificant, but they accumulate quickly. The result is slower thinking, more mistakes, and reduced creativity. Instead of gaining efficiency, multitasking fragments our attention and weakens our performance. Imagine trying to read a book while someone changes the channel on the television every 30 seconds. Each interruption pulls your mind away from the story. Eventually, you lose the thread of the narrative completely. This is exactly what happens when we try to divide our focus across multiple important tasks. Great work requires concentration. When your attention is fully directed toward a single objective, your brain operates differently. Ideas connect more easily. Solutions appear faster. Progress becomes smoother. Focus creates clarity, but distraction destroys it. Another belief that prevents people from achieving their best work is the idea that success requires a perfectly disciplined life. Many people assume that highly successful individuals possess extraordinary self-control and maintain rigid discipline in every area of their lives. The truth is much more encouraging. Success is not about maintaining perfect discipline forever. It is about applying focused discipline long enough to build the right habits. Think about learning to drive a car. At the beginning, every movement requires concentration. You must think about steering, braking, signaling, and monitoring the road at the same time. But after enough repetition, these actions become automatic. Habits take over. The same principle applies to success. When you focus on building the right habit, such as dedicating time each day to your most important work, that behavior gradually becomes natural. You no longer rely on constant motivation. The habit carries you forward. This is why many successful people appear disciplined. What we are actually seeing is the power of habits they built earlier in their journey. Another common misconception about productivity involves willpower. Many people believe that willpower is always available whenever they need it. They assume that if they simply push themselves harder, they will overcome distractions and accomplish their goals. But willpower is not unlimited. It functions more like a battery than an endless supply of energy. Throughout the day, every decision you make consumes a small portion of your mental strength. As that energy decreases, your ability to resist distractions weakens. This is why important work should be done early in the day whenever possible. When your mind is fresh and your willpower is strongest, you are far more capable of focusing on the tasks that matter most. If you wait until the end of the day when mental fatigue has accumulated, even simple tasks can feel overwhelming. Understanding this truth allows you to structure your day more effectively. Instead of using your best mental energy on trivial activities, you direct it toward the one action capable of creating the greatest progress. Another idea that often misleads people is the belief that a balanced life means dividing attention evenly among every area of life at all times. Balance sounds appealing, but the reality of achievement rarely works that way. At certain moments in life, specific areas demand greater attention. When you're building a business, your work may require intense focus. When raising children, family responsibilities take priority. When pursuing education, learning becomes central. Balance over the long term is healthy, but balance in every moment is unrealistic. Trying to maintain perfect equilibrium often prevents people from giving their full attention to the most important opportunity in front of them. Sometimes success requires temporary imbalance in order to create lasting stability later. Finally, there is one more belief that quietly limits people's potential: the idea that thinking big is dangerous. Some people convince themselves that ambitious goals are unrealistic or irresponsible. They lower their expectations to avoid disappointment, but extraordinary results rarely come from small thinking. When you allow yourself to imagine a bigger future, you begin asking better questions. Those questions lead to better strategies, and better strategies lead to better outcomes. The key is not simply dreaming big, but connecting those dreams to focused action. Big goals become achievable when they are broken down into the next small step. That step becomes your one thing. When you combine big vision with focused execution, something powerful begins to happen. Each action moves you closer to a meaningful goal. Each day of focused effort builds momentum, and gradually the gap between where you are and where you want to be begins to close. The lies of success lose their power when you replace them with a simple truth: not everything matters equally. Focus on what matters most, and extraordinary results become possible. There comes a moment in every person's journey when effort alone is no longer enough. You can work longer hours, push yourself harder, and fill your schedule with more activity, yet something still feels missing. Progress slows down, motivation fades, and despite all the work being done, the results don't seem to match the effort. At that moment, the real problem usually isn't lack of effort. The problem is lack of clarity. Clarity changes everything. When people are unclear about what truly matters, they scatter their attention across dozens of directions. But when clarity appears, energy begins to concentrate. Decisions become easier, action becomes purposeful, and progress becomes inevitable. This is where one simple but powerful question begins to shape the lives of people who achieve extraordinary results. The question is this: what's the one thing I can do such that by doing it everything else will be easier or unnecessary? At first glance, the question seems almost too simple. But its power lies in the way it forces your mind to focus on what truly matters. Most people approach their day by asking questions like, what do I need to get done today? Or what should I work on next? These questions produce long lists of tasks, responsibilities, and distractions. The result is usually a busy day filled with movement but little meaningful progress. But when you ask a better question, you get a better answer. The focusing question cuts through the noise. Instead of asking what could be done, it asks what should be done. It pushes you to search for the one action that creates the greatest impact. Think of it like standing in front of a locked door with a massive key ring. Each key represents a different task or possibility. Most people start trying keys randomly, hoping one of them eventually works. The focusing question helps you identify the one key that actually opens the door. Once you find that key, the effort required to move forward becomes dramatically smaller. This approach works because success rarely comes from tackling everything simultaneously. Instead, it comes from identifying the next step that unlocks progress. Imagine someone building a business from the ground up. At the beginning, there are hundreds of possible actions they could take. They could design a logo, build a website, create marketing campaigns, study competitors, read books, attend events, or develop new products. But among all those possibilities, one action matters most at any given moment. Maybe it's understanding the needs of customers. Maybe it's improving the product. Maybe it's building relationships with key partners. Whatever the answer may be, focusing on that single action creates the foundation for everything else. When the right action is taken, many other problems solve themselves automatically. This is the hidden power behind the focusing question. It reduces complexity by identifying leverage. It finds the point where effort produces the greatest return. And this idea applies far beyond business. Students who achieve extraordinary academic success often discover that one study habit dramatically improves their results. Athletes discover that one training method produces breakthroughs in performance. Writers discover that one daily writing habit unlocks their creativity. In each case, the path to progress becomes clear when the right question is asked. But the focusing question works best when it is applied across different time horizons. You can ask it about your entire life. What is the one thing I can do in my life that will create the greatest meaning and impact? You can ask it about your long-term goals. What is the one thing I can do this year that moves me closer to my vision? You can ask it about your monthly or weekly priorities. What is the one thing I can accomplish this week that moves everything forward? And finally, you can ask it about the present moment. What is the one thing I can do right now that deserves my full attention? By linking these questions together, your daily actions begin aligning with your larger goals. Each small step becomes part of a bigger direction. Instead of wandering through endless tasks, you begin walking along a clear path. This is one of the most powerful productivity systems ever created because it connects purpose with action. Purpose provides direction. Priority determines what matters most. Productivity becomes the natural result of focusing your time and energy on that priority. And when those three elements align, progress becomes unstoppable. Financial freedom follows the same principle. Many people approach money with scattered strategies. They chase quick opportunities, jump between investments, and constantly search for shortcuts. But wealth rarely grows from random decisions. It grows from focused action applied consistently over time. The focusing question helps identify the one financial action that matters most right now. It might be developing a valuable skill that increases income. It might be building a business system that generates recurring revenue. It might be investing consistently in assets that grow over time. Whatever the answer may be, clarity allows effort to compound. Once you discover the most important action, the next challenge becomes protecting your focus long enough to complete it. Distractions will always exist. New opportunities will appear. Urgent demands will compete for your attention. But the ability to return again and again to the most important task is what separates ordinary results from extraordinary ones. Every day you will face a choice. You can react to whatever appears in front of you, or you can direct your energy toward what matters most. When you choose focus, you build momentum. And momentum has a remarkable effect on human motivation. When people begin seeing real progress, their confidence increases. Energy rises, commitment strengthens, progress fuels more progress. Over time, the focusing question becomes more than a productivity tool. It becomes a way of thinking. You begin approaching every challenge with the same mindset. What action here will create the greatest impact? That question becomes a compass guiding your decisions. And as you continue following that compass day after day, something powerful begins to unfold. Small, focused actions accumulate. Momentum builds, and the extraordinary results that once seemed distant start becoming reality. There is a moment in every journey toward extraordinary success when people begin asking a very honest question. They look at those who seem to achieve incredible results and wonder, how do they stay so disciplined? It appears as if these individuals possess a special kind of self-control that others simply do not have. Their routines seem structured, their focus seems unbreakable, and their progress seems steady. But this perception hides a deeper truth. The most successful people are not necessarily more disciplined than everyone else. What they have learned is something far more practical. They understand how to use discipline in a very specific and strategic way. Instead of trying to control every aspect of their lives, they focus their discipline on building the right habits. This is an important distinction. Many people believe success requires constant willpower and perfect discipline from morning until night. They imagine a life where every decision is carefully controlled and every action is executed flawlessly. That image is exhausting, and fortunately it is not necessary. Success is not a marathon of constant discipline. Instead, it is a short sprint of focused discipline repeated long enough to build a habit. Once the habit forms, it begins working for you automatically. Think about the habits that already exist in your daily life. You brush your teeth without needing to remind yourself. You check your phone almost instinctively. You follow certain routines without thinking about them at all. These actions require very little mental energy because your brain has already automated them. Habits reduce effort. They remove the need for constant decision-making and transform important actions into natural behavior. This is why building the right habit can change everything. When someone commits to writing every morning, eventually writing becomes part of who they are. When someone commits to exercising regularly, physical activity becomes a natural part of their life. When someone consistently dedicates time to learning or building their business, progress compounds because the behavior repeats day after day. The habit carries the effort forward. This is where discipline plays its most important role. Discipline is not something you must maintain forever. You only need enough discipline to establish the habit. Once the habit becomes automatic, the struggle decreases dramatically. Imagine trying to push a heavy flywheel. At first it barely moves, each push requires effort. But with persistence, the wheel begins turning slowly. After enough pushes, momentum takes over and the wheel spins more easily. Habits work in the same way. The early stage requires effort and consistency, but once momentum builds, maintaining the behavior becomes easier than avoiding it. Research into human behavior has shown that habits do not form instantly. They require repetition over time. On average, a new habit takes about 2 months of consistent practice to become automatic. Some habits form faster, others take longer, but the principle remains the same. Consistency creates habit, and habit creates results. This understanding transforms how successful people approach their goals. Instead of trying to change everything at once, they focus on building one powerful habit at a time. They understand that success is sequential. You build one habit, allow it to become automatic, and then move on to the next improvement. Over time, these habits stack together like building blocks. Each one strengthens the foundation of your success. Consider an athlete preparing for competition. Their performance on the field or in the arena is the visible result of thousands of repeated habits. Training routines, nutrition practices, recovery methods, and mental preparation all become part of a system built through consistency. The same pattern appears in business and financial success. Entrepreneurs who achieve extraordinary results often develop habits around focused work. They protect certain hours of the day for their most important tasks. They regularly review their goals and priorities. They invest time in learning and improving their skills. These habits compound into powerful advantages over time. Financial freedom is rarely the result of a single lucky event. More often, it grows from habits related to saving, investing, learning about money, and building income-producing opportunities. Each habit contributes a small improvement that accumulates over years. The people who achieve financial independence rarely rely on motivation alone. Instead, they build systems and habits that make progress inevitable. This approach also simplifies life. When you know which habit drives your success, you gain clarity about what deserves your attention and what does not. You stop trying to monitor every aspect of your behavior. Instead, you concentrate on the one routine that matters most. The right habit creates a ripple effect throughout the rest of your life. People who develop strong work habits often become more organized in other areas. Those who build a habit of daily exercise often improve their eating patterns and sleep routines. Positive behaviors tend to reinforce one another. Success habits create a chain reaction. But there is another element that plays a critical role in this process, and it often surprises people. That element is willpower. Many individuals believe willpower is something they can access whenever they need it. They assume they can rely on determination alone to push through difficult tasks at any time of day. But willpower is not always available on demand. Think of willpower as a limited resource that fluctuates throughout the day. When you wake up in the morning, your mental energy is usually at its highest. As the day progresses and decisions accumulate, that energy gradually decreases. Every decision consumes a small amount of mental strength. Choosing what to eat, responding to messages, handling problems, and navigating responsibilities all drain a portion of your willpower. By the time evening arrives, many people feel mentally exhausted even if their day was not physically demanding. This is why timing matters so much. The most important work in your life should happen when your willpower is strongest. For most people, this means early in the day before distractions multiply and mental fatigue begins to set in. When you use your peak energy on the tasks that matter most, the quality of your work improves dramatically. Instead of reacting to the world, you move intentionally towards your most meaningful goals. This principle has powerful implications for financial growth and career success. If your best mental energy is spent responding to minor requests or browsing through endless information, the most important opportunities may never receive your full attention. Protecting your willpower becomes part of protecting your future. Successful individuals design their schedules in ways that prioritize their most valuable work. They reduce unnecessary decisions, eliminate distractions during key hours, and structure their days around meaningful progress. They understand that discipline, habits, and willpower are not separate forces. They are parts of the same system. Discipline starts the process. Habits sustain the process. Willpower supports the process when challenges appear. When these three forces work together, extraordinary results begin to emerge. And once the right habits take hold, success stops feeling like a constant struggle. It becomes a natural consequence of the systems you have built into your life. There comes a moment in life when everything begins to connect. All the ideas about focus, habits, discipline, and purpose stop feeling like separate concepts and start forming a single path. This is the moment when a person begins living what could be called the one thing life. It is the life where clarity replaces confusion. For many people, life feels overwhelming because there are too many directions to choose from. Opportunities appear everywhere. Responsibilities multiply. The modern world constantly presents new information, new choices, and new demands for attention. It becomes easy to feel as if you must chase everything at once. But the truth about extraordinary success is much simpler. Success begins when you decide what matters most and allow that decision to guide everything else. The moment you identify your one thing, the fog begins to lift. Your time starts aligning with your priorities. Your energy flows toward meaningful progress instead of scattered activity. You stop trying to do everything and begin building something. This shift changes the way you see the world. Instead of reacting to whatever appears in front of you, you begin asking a deeper question. Does this move me closer to my most important goal? If the answer is yes, you give it your full attention. If the answer is no, you learn to say no. Saying no is one of the most powerful skills on the path to extraordinary results. Every time you protect your focus, you strengthen your ability to create meaningful progress. Every time you remove a distraction, you create space for the work that truly matters. This does not mean life becomes smaller. In fact, the opposite happens. When your focus becomes sharper, your impact becomes larger. Consider how great achievements are built. They rarely come from people who attempt to do everything at once. Instead, they come from individuals who dedicate themselves to one meaningful direction long enough for extraordinary results to appear. Think about a musician mastering their instrument, a scientist dedicating years to a breakthrough discovery, an entrepreneur building a company from a simple idea. In each case, success is fueled by focus. Over time, That focus transforms effort into mastery. Mastery transforms opportunity into results. And results transform ordinary lives into extraordinary ones. Financial freedom follows the same pattern. Many people dream about wealth, but few understand the focus required to achieve it. Wealth is rarely the product of scattered decisions or random opportunities. Instead, it grows from sustained attention to the right financial habits. Those who achieve financial independence often focus on one powerful financial strategy at a time. They might begin by increasing their earning ability through a valuable skill. That increased income allows them to invest consistently. Over time, those investments compound and begin generating additional opportunities. Each step builds upon the previous one. Eventually, the system begins working for them. Money starts producing more money. Opportunities begin appearing more frequently. The progress that once felt slow suddenly begins accelerating. But none of this happens without clarity. Clarity about what matters most. Clarity about where to focus your time. Clarity about what you are willing to ignore. Living the one thing life requires courage because it often means walking away from distractions that appear attractive but lead nowhere. It means choosing long-term progress over short-term comfort. It means trusting the process even when the results are still developing. At times, the path will feel uncertain. There will be moments when progress appears slow, moments when others question your focus, moments when distractions seem more exciting than the disciplined pursuit of your goal. Those moments are part of the journey. Extraordinary results take time to grow. Just as the domino effect begins with a single push, success begins with a single decision repeated day after day. The repetition builds momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence fuels persistence. Eventually, the results speak for themselves. When people look at successful individuals, they often see only the outcome. They see the business that succeeded, the wealth that accumulated, or the achievements that gained recognition. What they rarely see are the years of focused effort that made those results possible, the quiet mornings spent working on the most important task, the countless hours devoted to building one skill, the disciplined choice to continue moving forward while others became distracted. That is the real story behind extraordinary success. It is not a story of doing everything. It is a story of doing what matters most. And the beauty of this principle is that it applies to anyone willing to embrace it. You do not need extraordinary talent to begin. You do not need unlimited resources or perfect circumstances. What you need is clarity. Clarity about the direction you want your life to move. Clarity about the one action that moves you forward today. Once that clarity appears, everything else begins aligning around it. Your time becomes more intentional, your energy becomes more powerful, your progress becomes more visible, and gradually the life you once imagined begins becoming reality. The path to extraordinary results is not hidden. It has been there all along, waiting for those willing to focus. Find the one thing that matters most, commit to it fully, and allow the power of focus, habit, and momentum to transform your life.